One, two, pop, pop, pop. Okay, it's there. Hooray! Can see something coming through. And thank you for letting me know. Otherwise, I would have talked for the next 2 hours and not realised that I was muted. So I appreciate you letting me know. Okay, so look, really it was a case of seeing the photo, and I'm going to share my browser with you. I'm sure you've all seen it already, but let's jump into firstly making sure that my browser actually loads up. Had some tech issues today and I don't think they've ended. So I can't see the browser. All right, let's do something with that. And fairly new to live streaming, so bear with us. I'll share that, and we've got a browser up. Yay! Okay, cool. Audio is still there. So we've all seen the image. I should probably be drinking more coffee. Hang on. Finish the last of that. All right. It's quite late here, and so it's a little bit of a mess to get started, but there are so many images. Let's have a look at the selfie image. And I find it really interesting. So there are lots of different sizes that you can see available. Let me move that. Jeff would have become good lip readers, yeah. I don't know much ASL. American Sign Language is a little bit different to Auslan, which we have here in Australia. But the image we're looking at here is the selfie. Now, I did see something from Pav in one of his latest videos. No, I lie. It was from Lana's video around the white/green Hyundai, and what we could do is extract the image from that document to see where that document's come from. But what I want to do first is just show you some of the tools. So all I did originally, if you've seen the video, it is on the channel, you can take a look, was to look at all these different sizes, the cropping. This one's good, we'll do that. Save as Koberger selfie. Oh my God, why is my keyboard not working? Meant to be technical and I'm just falling over left, right and center. Anyway, Koberger selfie, there we go. Now,
I have a couple of ways of doing this. We are going to jump into my extension's not loaded. For some reason my extensions aren't there. But if you've got Chrome or Chromium and you search for on the web store, there's a couple of extensions, and again, spelling today, oh my god. Perceptual image analysis is a good one, but I think we can do that in Firefox, which we'll do in a bit because it doesn't meet it. But this one is great, and we're also going to look for TINEYE, which is a reverse image search, and you might have seen this in video. I'm just going to quickly add these in, add that one, okay. So now when we look at the image, and I'll just go to manage my extensions, yep, cool, they're there. Can I, let's put them here, okay, tiny image, right. So this one's great, right click on an image to search, so you can search image on TINEYE, and it's going to look at that exact image that you've grabbed, whether it's from a URL or you upload one, 107 results. So I kind of looked through here and I was like, well, which is the legitimate original image, considering you can see the file size, you can see all of the bits and pieces here that's just a bit difficult to identify the original. So I did end up extracting it from the court document, which I will pull up the folder of images if I add another source here. Let me just grab another image source here, window capture, and I'm going to, I've only just set up OBS to try and get my act together, so it might take me a little minute, but here we go. Let's add that in like that. Okay. So now if I switch into my file manager, you can see I've got a whole bunch of stuff here. Hi, Christy Nevada. Welcome. Glad you could join us. So what I ended up doing is going in here and getting this court document, which, have I put the PDF in here? State's response, bushy eyebrows. Come on, brain. PDF. This one here. State's response, defendant's motion in limine 7, and I will add that in as well. Let's just grab the PDF there. No, that's not the right one. There it is. Share. You can see in this State of Idaho versus Koberger, get that on screen. Witness identification by bushy eyebrows, and down at the bottom, we've got this, the State's Exhibit S5, S6, and when you first look at this image in the document, and I should probably make it so that it's on screen, it looks a bit dodgy just in the graininess, which everything from the PD is, and also the proportions are slightly out. The face looks a bit weird, and these things over his ears are a bit weird. They're meant to look like ear pods, but they're the strangest looking headphones I've ever seen. So from there, my next step was, and we're just going to get rid of that, was to go back to I ended up using a Python script that I got AI to write for me. I can share that in the description if you'd like, but I got it to extract the images off the document. And so it ended up with, if 5 images. Let's see if I can preview them in here. So we've got Ashley Jennings' signature, which we can put on some other documents if you need to submit something. Osterberg, the image and the license. And then this one as well, which I don't know where that's from. It might be part of the signature above it. But this image here of Koberger embedded in a image, it was really interesting. Maybe if I share the slide deck, I'm just going to switch over to the slides and show you. Okay, let's just switch back to this because there is audio and I will add it as another window. Apologies, I am struggling, but hopefully that will solve the problem. We will switch over to this one. output, 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 output audio. Trying to sort this out. Bear with me one moment because it is not playing dice. Okay, so let's see if this one, chat, 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 blah, blah, blah. Don't know. Let's see, this mic can be, digital mic, is that, oh. If that's going to do anything, no. Okay. Just audio, come on. Something seems to be crashing. Okay, there's audio coming out according to the waveform. We're going to go with this. Image extraction, I've got the PDF. Something seems to be crashing. Okay, cool. Going to keep it with that. So now if we look at the image extraction, we've put the PDF into, well, I asked the robot to create some code for me and put the PDF through a Python script. Can you turn that down a bit? Complete noobs here, bear with us. Okay, let's look at this. This is the metadata from the image extracted from the States Motion in the Mini 7. And you can see there are the images that it extracted, the different formats. And I hadn't heard of JPX before, but it is meant to be a compressed file format. Despite that, I was unable to get any metadata off that image other than what you see there. And you can see that that's just really talking about the image format, the file type extension. There's nothing to say where it was taken, what device it was taken with. The EXIF metadata for this image is missing, and is that because it's embedded within a PDF document? Maybe, but regardless of where we go and find this image, there is no metadata on there. The one that I found was the closest to this, closest to the dimensions and the file size was from AP Press, the Associated Press, and that didn't have any metadata either. It just had some a little tag to give a reference to that image by the Associated Press, and nothing to say that this was taken with this device at this time, at this location. If you look at any image on your mobile phone and you hit on the info icon within your Photos app on your phone, you'll see there's a lot more data that goes into it. And so the main methods that we're looking at are these ones: noise, error level, principal component, level sweep, luminance gradient, and clone detection. So I'm going to quickly switch and just show you this slide. This is the noise analysis, looking at a range from 10% through to 100% noise. And I'm going to switch over to the browser and we can do this live. Let me add that in as a window. If I can, come on, brain. Okay, we are 107 TINEYE results. There we go. So here we are looking at this one. I'm just going to close some of these windows. Now, with those extensions added, we can open the InVid We Verified plugin. And it's got a number of tools here. This is really fairly straightforward and easy to use. We can either use a web page link or we can use a local file. So let's click on metadata and we'll see what we get if we add a local file, downloads, and we have, did we not download it? Hang on, bear with us. Save image as, where did we put it? Let's put it in pictures and we're going to call it Coburger. Cool, and then we can go here and we can go to pictures and Christ almighty, it's not my night. Coburger somewhere. We'll open it from one of these. BK Photo. I've got so many in here. Okay, let's just look at this and we will just going to switch to my files tab, make sure I've got the right one. Forensic extracts from court document. Okay, let's go to if you're staying with us, apologies and thank you for bearing with me. Have major brain fog, but we will get there. Okay, it's called source PG17 in that folder. Source PG17. Submit. No EXIF metadata was found, but it is the full page image, so let's go and switch that to the cropped one that we just saw, forensic image analysis, extracts from court doc down the bottom of the cropped one, submit, there we go. And again, only plus JPEG and TIFF, that's PNG, fine, whatever. So in here, if we switch over to forensic tools and we can use the same data again, which is this cropped image. And it will load it up. So there's some links here. If you do use this, the InVid WeVerify plugin, it's pretty good. Can extract metadata, can use OCR scanning. If it doesn't load up in a second, we're going to move on to one of the other tools. I'm going to close some tabs just in case it's anything to do with that. The internet connection might be my problem this evening. If it's not just me that's the problem. Okay, while that's doing that, let's switch to one of the other tools. Here is called Forensically. Now this is great. This is a free resource, 29a.ch, called Forensically, and it does the same thing. You can see across the left here we've got all the different tools, and as we switch through these you can see the visual representation of the image is getting adjusted. You can change all the different data settings. This one you can see is shot from a Sony ILCE 6000. You've got a date there. It's in our local time. You've got the GPS location of where it was taken. Now, if this was a legitimate image of Brian Koberger, his selfie in the shower, this is the metadata that is going to either prove it's real or it's exculpatory, and it's just not there. I mean, maybe there's an original source image that gets submitted as evidence, but if it's just the image off that document, well, it's complete BS. There's no EXIF data, and it's, it is possible to forge, but it's going to show up as some pretty major issues. Let's put in the photo now, and we'll go to magnifier, and you can see this will go right into quite a granular level. We can push the magnification right up and look at some of these pixels along the side here. Some of it looks quite odd in terms of the way it's been cropped, and there's some strange anomalies that you'll see if we go through. Okay, auto contrast, etc, etc, etc. Sort of. Okay, so clone detection. I've gone through all of these. You can start seeing what clone detection does is looks at similarity across different pixels in the image. This is only showing a small amount. There's not, if we go down, less similarity is going to draw where parts of the image match. what's really interesting already, if we look at this, and I just zoom in. Come on, zooming in. It's going to resize. So, making some of these adjustments, you can see that there's the same spots that were identified in the images that are put in the slides around the areas that are in question. So it's always around fringing and hair when you have superimposed parts, and the scale of the thumb's a bit out. In fact, there's a line. If you look closely, and I don't know how detailed it is on your screen, you'll see it in some of the other images as we go through. There's this visual line from around the nose down here. Now, it might not mean anything, it might not mean something. I am no forensics expert by any means, but I am curious. And that's about all we need for this. Looking at error level analysis. Now, when you look at this, this is looking at the, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is looking at the difference in the colour spectrum or colour scales from opposing pixels. And you can see some areas that are starting to look a bit odd around the forehead and over here, like this has been, this area here should not be so different to the rest of the wall here. It's still at the same distance from where the photo would have been taken. It's really interesting. And then there's very different colouring on the shirt. You've got this line here. Let's just see if we can change some of the settings to look at it. Auto contrast by channel. The same areas kind of come up where there's colour differences. Noise analysis, so applying artificial noise amplitude at different levels. Now, this should provide a consistent amount of noise across the image, but where there is a difference in what the neighbouring pixels would be, it does create this almost like like an imprint of the image, like a cutout. So high tax max fax. What do I think about all the things? I think that there's a lot of misdirection in the case. Thank you for joining us. Now, what I might do is I might actually just go through my slide deck, because when I did put those images together, and there are a lot of them, I spent hours and hours and hours on it. So I'm just going to switch back to the slides, and you can see these images have all come from Forensically, which I did over that period when I was preparing for the other clip that is on the Ruby G Truth and Neurons channel. I'm going to get that out of my way and switch over to here. So you can see the noise analysis. So it's inconsistencies in altered regions of an image based on applying different levels of noise. And ignore whatever that is. I think I was looking at a data set. Where is that? Where does that come from? How do I get rid of it? There we go. And you can see it's really interesting to see some of the outline around, interestingly, for the noise analysis here, the bushy eyebrows. Go figure. Go figure. Bushy eyebrows. If I can zoom in, let's just see if I can. I mean, there shouldn't be that much discrepancy between the two eyebrows. It doesn't quite make sense, and you can see while we're here, if I scroll down a bit as well, you see there's a line running down the middle of this. Let's just move over to some of the others. You'll see it quite distinctly in some of the other techniques, but it does appear that the seam of the shirt has been edited, and if you look at the colour of this edging here, basically all these edges, it's kind of like the shirt's been superimposed, or not sure what. There's some massive oddities. So look, to spot them by sight is difficult. So I did use AI for a lot of it, and I'll just zoom out for this. Come on, zooming out. If you're a data nerd, then the standard deviation and the mean pixel value, looking at how intense it is across here. I actually don't have a clue what this means, but Jeff, if you know, good luck to you. If you want any of these images or you want to use it yourself, I'm quite happy to share the whole folder of images that I've got. So then if we look at, this is the one that probably showed the most, 70% noise, and you can see that there's some interesting horizontal markings on there. The tile colours are different. All of this, the areas where it's white are where it's kind of been edited to fit into the image. From what I've learnt, and I am self-taught. I looked at it and did a bit of research online. I've studied it quite extensively prior to the previous content being put out. So then we're looking at the error level analysis. So variance in levels of compression. So compression is to take all the raw data, the raw pixel data from an image and compress it for file size, but you do also lose quality of the image. So if you were to turn a camera raw image, so the raw format from a digital camera into a JPEG or a PNG or whatever format, it is then turning it from a data file into pixels, and any edits you make of an image that's then pixels is a degradation to the quality of those pixels. And so these again were generated in forensically, and each one of those is different settings. So I can show you the folder. That might just go down the rabbit hole a bit too far, but if we look at the analysis of the different heat maps, so error level analysis looks at the neighboring color contrast. That is right, I'm getting them mixed up, but that's maybe because I'm overtired. The ones that really stood out of all of those images, we're looking at across the top 25, 50 and 75% JPEG quality and the error scale at 100%. You're welcome to try this in forensically. Same settings, you'll get the same results. 25% quality, and then the error scale, bring it back down to 25%. You can see there's those same areas that this different technique is highlighting. So it's around the hair, the eyes, the eyebrows, the ears, the shirt, and the thumb. The great thing about these techniques is even if you have an image where it's pitch black, it's underexposed, there's still metadata in that image. There's still a bunch of data. This is the same image, 100% JPEG quality, error scale 100%. It ended up black, but there's still all the color values underneath. Then we get onto the principal component analysis. So statistical analysis of image regions in components. So these are the different inputs. So either a gradient for how the luminance, how bright it is, or the input's color in 4 different modes. So projection mode, difference, distance, and component. There are 3 different components, and God, I should have written down what those components are. But forensically, there's a really great help section which will explain each of those. And going through every variation of those principal component analysis settings, I just adjusted one value at each time and generated these across all the luminance settings, all the color domains. and then looked at the ones that really stood out the most and got some wacky results. Like you can see here that, you know, the one on the left looks very, very vintage. Can't really tell much from that image. But if you look at the other two, component 2 and 3, and you look again at the center line of the shirt, there's that very strong vertical line that almost looks like the left and right part of the shirt's been sort of superimposed, and that thumb stands out like anything. It's very, very strange. You can see in the middle one, the eyebrows are standing out. Like, let's zoom into that one. There's a lot wrong with the image. Again, component 1 doesn't really show much, but it does show, you can see that vertical line that's running straight down the middle of the image. And then these two kind of look at the, hopefully that's going to come on screen. Let me just move this to be a little bit bigger to see if we can then, if I zoom out a bit, over there you can see I'm using a different, I'm not using PowerPoint, I'm using a Linux machine, so it's out of whack, but I'll deal with that. You can see that there's some really interesting results in the color variants that wouldn't normally come across a normal image, and we can throw a plain image in there in forensically and see how that goes. Input color, component 1. It's really interesting. So the input, so color input, distance mode. Look, I'd love to, Susie Q, I'd love to think the defense can prove the photos manipulated, but it's just, is it going to even make it to trial? Like, it kind of has fallen by the wayside with all the new evidence that's come to light. Have I ever had my eyes dilated? Yeah, I've got some terrible photos of me, so yes, but I don't think, Tax Max Facts, I don't think your eyes are going to look like that in the end image. It's really quite interesting. I don't know what it was about the image in the first place, but both Ruby and I looked at it and immediately were like, that's not right. There's something definitely not right. And again, next mode in this principal component analysis, it's also called PCA. Don't get it muddled up with the probable cause affidavit, which is also as fake as this image. But this is using the equalized histogram in projection mode. And again, look, there's this very, very strong line that's appearing in these different modes. So I don't know how they can claim, but again, Susie Q, they're going to need to have someone who is a forensic image expert to debunk that if it is used in court. And I'm fairly sure Anne's got a pretty strong team. It's just about whether or not they get to testify, whether this is brought up as a piece of evidence, and really interested to know what the recent closed hearing was about, because there's just so many sideways moves in this case and then new bits and pieces coming out. I would suggest that this is probably, aside from mainstream media picking this up and still claiming that it's a selfie, you know, post-kill selfie, come on brain, it's just cracking me up that it's still claimed as being Koberger after the murder. There's no details. Susie Q, I'm so glad I came across Ruby G and get to contribute to her channel, because she's got amazing insights on psychology, and I'm just a full nerd. So this is kind of my stuff I get stuck into, as you can see with the number of images that I've generated. Let's just switch through some of these. Luminance, component, stretch, contrast, different components. It starts looking really quite wacky with some of these. Switch through them. Nice for art pieces, I guess, if it wasn't such a loaded image. And then these are the ones that really stood out for me in terms of the areas that are faked. So color projection component 3, equalized histogram versus the inverted histogram. So this is the same settings. It's just it's been reversed on the histogram graph. If you go into any photo editing software, you'll see a histogram like a waveform. And if you just invert it, you'll get the opposite results. And it's really highlighting here on the left. We've got these dark edges and some unusual fringing around the face and the eyebrows again. The inverse of that's even stronger in terms of the depth of the shading here and the inconsistency with eyebrows and edges and this strong solid line. I think this one on the right is probably the strongest evidence of the shirt seam being photoshopped in, because we've got this line which is not the seam, you know, the original image, which is kind of more like that. Original image, the seam is here. It does prove it wasn't him, but it's, I think out of the absence of evidence, I don't think this is particularly a convincing photo for anyone other than the guilters that still want to get content onto their 24-hour news channel. Okay, so I've kind of jumped from the, where are we at? We're at the principal component analysis and now looking at the level sweep. So if you've ever adjusted exposure on a photo, you'll get almost a whiteout and a blackout. So we're switching through all the different exposure levels here. So level sweep and different width of level sweep. Now, I did have some notes. They appear in PowerPoint, they're not appearing here, so I can't even really describe these. I will put some links in the description after this stream to link to Forensically and to some of the explainers around these techniques so that anyone can try them themselves. So I've gone through, we've got level sweep 0.5, level sweep 0.5. Okay, so that's width 64. Did I not change the settings on those? 0.7, that must be 0.6, but I haven't actually updated the text. 0.7, 0.8. Interesting here, you can see that red line appearing again. Probably around the 0.7, there's these really interesting, if we zoom into, look at some of these spots there that it could be debated, but it really does look interesting in terms of the shape of some of the fingers, the edging here and the discoloration. Then there's this strong center line and massively different coloration in the shirt from the left to the right, which we've seen in some of the other techniques. So we switch through them. Now, Jeff H., you're a bit of a gun at enhancing images, so hopefully you can do something with these as well. Different intensities, so normalized. Okay, luminance gradient. I've lost track of where we're at. Clone detection is one of my favorites. Clone detection is one where it's really interesting, like he's got laser eyes. This looks at parts of images that are copied or duplicated pixel regions from an image. And so what it's doing here is it's also drawing from where some of the image areas have been taken and cloned. So it's matching some of the thumb down in the bottom on the second finger on his hand up to his cheek, and from his upper lip to the lower eye, from his nose to his forehead, parts of his forehead along the hairline, and then copying in the shower rail. This one's really quite interesting, copying parts of the shirt from one side to the other. It's really interesting to look at these. And then when we max it out, so similarity 0.1, minimal detail 0.1. So the detail is how much detail are we looking at matching. The higher that value, the less it's going to match, right? So we've got cluster sizes. So when we're looking at matching the blocks, and I'll just zoom out again so we can see it. When we're looking at matching the blocks, so what is the size of the block? We're looking at a 2 pixel block and minimum of 2 blocks. So that will be about 4 pixels. On the other side, we've got minimum cluster 2 pixels, block size 4. So looking at 8 blocks. And you can start to see that there's a lot of editing that's gone into this photo. Every single technique here has come up with the same areas. We're looking at hairline, anomalies with the shirt, and the thumbs up sign. So then these are all the different methods. I'm going to grab a couple of photos that I found that the AI generated. I sent them through to Bubbly just the other day because they are entertaining, makes him look like he's got laser eyes. But then where does this come in? And Susie, you're asking about how this might be used in the case. So it has to be relevant. So it has to actually help prove or disprove a factual consequence. So does this actually prove anything? There's nothing that's linking that image unless there's the metadata that says, here is the GPS coordinates. The EXIF metadata of any photo taken on a phone, any photo taken on a camera maybe depending on which camera model, but the EXIF metadata is what's going to show what device was used, where it was taken. All we see in the image from the metadata at the start of this session is just around the, let's switch back to it in fact. Let me just get to here. So there's the metadata of the document. Here is some of the metadata for the image and date, and then here is this is all the metadata that was able to be extracted off this image. And it's got nothing around the device. It's got nothing around the location. If this has come off a phone, there's absolutely zero chance that it doesn't have that data as to say, here is the handset, here is the model, the make, the latitude, the longitude, all of that data is absent from this image. So, when we look at the rules of evidence, it has to really show that it doesn't mean anything other than it's just another propaganda piece for mainstream media to go, look at him, he's, proud of the multiple homicide, and it just blows my mind. So then there's the authentication. So if this is to be admitted as evidence into court, it has to be authenticated. And so much like the IgG, much like pretty much everything in this case, it doesn't meet the Idaho Rules of Evidence 901. It has to be proven that it's authentic. Chain of custody. there's no chain of custody for this image. There's no chain of custody. There's no metadata, as we've just seen. Then we're looking at the originality or best evidence. So it says a copy is admissible unless there's a genuine issue about authenticity or fairness. Well, hopefully this is useful to us, and hopefully the defence has an expert who can testify. I'm sure Ray or anyone can use these tools, and I'm thinking it's fairly effing obvious that this is a doctored image. So prejudice, confusing or misleading potential, yeah, well that's pretty much what the prosecution are relying on, and hearsay. So it doesn't have any statements or signs. So there's no record. This is the main issue. There's no record to say that this is an authentic image. It's missing the metadata that would put this image being captured at his apartment, in or around his apartment, on that day, at that time. All of the date, the time, the device, the GPS coordinates are missing. And I very strongly doubt that they've got the original with any of that data. It's just another part of the frame-up that is this Koberger case. And this hopefully answers your question, Susie Q, around, is it used in court? Well, it needs a foundation to say, where did this image come from? I mean, that would be something that would start proving that the image was genuine. Where did it come from? I've got an inkling, I know where it came from, but I'm not going to make any allegations about a certain person that might want to do something like that. And so this is one of the AI tools that was available through, there's a website called Hugging Face. It has AI models, and they have something called Spaces. So you can jump on there and you can look at some of the fake image detector tools. And so it goes through and it looks at the different parts of the image, and it does all the bits and pieces that we've just done. And it's coming up with some results to say, yeah, we're on the right path. This is absolutely not a genuine image. I mean, even if you look at the left arm, it's either he's got a very short arm or like he's bending his arm in a way that would be uncomfortable, if not impossible. So including supposed bushy eyebrows, no confirmation of origin or integrity, no metadata, no proof of device, no proof of software, and just like everything else. So that's a slightly more detailed, or I don't know whether I even got to detail in that because I'm just a little bit exhausted. I found some other stuff around Washington State University, which will be another live stream coming up, and some really interesting parallels in other states with other victims of similar crimes that have just been keeping me up at night. But let's just finish off with going back to some of the tools. I'm going to pop the browser up here. We're back in Forensically. Now I've just got to figure out on my screen. There it is. There's the browser. So I might just look at opening let's grab something off the net that, if we go to Unsplash, cool, Unsplash, image library, heaps of free images. Let's grab this, dog in a car, fabulous, that's saving there, and it's saved to downloads, brilliant. So then if we go and open that one, I need to go to here, there we go. Cute, everyone likes bugs. most people anyway. Clone detection. Changing any of these doesn't really show any. What was that? What was that? Potentially, but also it's a stock media library. You might want to edit your images a bit. Looks pretty legit to me. There's nothing that's standing out. I mean, we're also dealing with blurry images. If you look at the white, using air quotes, Elantra, and if you're looking at the shower selfie, no metadata. Bugger, I was hoping this would have metadata. Okay, Hewlett Packard. Okay. That really didn't do what I was hoping it would do, because I was hoping it would have metadata so we can see. Let me see if I've got something that, oh, here we go. I'm going to pop the browser back up. Let's just show you. Here is what we were first looking at, and it took a while to load. But we've got the same things here. This is using the fake news debunker by InVid, which is available in Chrome, and I think it's actually available in Firefox as well. And it's great. If you hover over these, it will give you an explanation about the different algorithms if you want to learn and know about the different bits and pieces. And so we're looking at here, we're in the previous video and the slide deck there. You can see that block detection, just hover over that. So the JPEG compression, block detection, it's looking at the same areas. Eyes, eyebrow, side of the face, thumbs, they all come up the same. So regardless of the tools we're using, we're getting the same results. We can switch over to looking at some of these results are a bit wild. Deep learning, okay. I don't know, I think my browser and my internet connection is being problematic. So anyway, that is the plugin. I'll show you here. Extensions. So if you're in Chrome Web Store, fake news debunker. So this is InVid. Their website has a lot of information around different tools, and that browser extension is really useful as well. If I switch back to the image, I also have this other one. No, it's in Chrome. Hang on. Let's see if I switch this browser to be a different window and share that one with you. And then Coburger selfie. There we go, open image in new tab, get rid of that rubbish. And then we can right click and we have Perceptual Image Analysis is the name of the plugin. And similarly, there's no EXIF data, there's no thumbnail. If we look at the levels, you can do the same thing as forensically where you can adjust different levels of the image. I mean, that level there is a bit odd to me. Why would your face and hands have such different color values? We can switch to a mix of the two. Looks like he should be fronting for the cure in that image. We've got the principal component analysis, so you can see the different axes here. Now this is really interesting, slightly different result, but I haven't seen these results before, so it's a bit interesting to look at it. But you can see similar areas of the image that are just not adding up the same as what an original image would be. So I mean, here you can clearly see that there's this red area over on the right that isn't consistent with the rest of the shirt, and then this side over here is very different colour. Like, I'd say that this middle part here is definitely photoshopped in. It's got a strange curve to it that wouldn't be normal of a shirt, and there's that center line again running down the middle of the image. I reckon that kind of highlights to me, if I zoom in a bit more, the blocks that have been copied from the image. You can see as if squares have been cut out from an image and then they're photoshopped in to fit. Trying to explain it tonight, it might not make sense, but I think it's still pretty clear that there's some issues. Issues with this image. You tell me, do you think this is actually that line down the middle of the shirt's the one that always has been getting me, and the difference in, you could call that shadow, but it's not. It's really not. You can see the parts of the hand here. If we go down, there's some very sketchy cutting in. Like, I've done a lot of Photoshop editing, and that's still going to have colour there. There we go. Like, there's really interesting parts to this image. The edging of most of the shirt and the thumb. It's like they've got a shirt, needs to have set it at a certain angle. Then had part of the shower wall from some image from the search warrant for his apartment that they've then had to Photoshop the rest in. You saw in the clone detection that there was a lot of cloning of the bar to bring that across. Those inconsistencies in the shower wall. But it's really the bushy eyebrows are the ones is the main issue. And hopefully that this image is something to support the fact that the bushy eyebrows is complete bullshit. Because it is. I mean, to even think that you can convict someone on them having bushy eyebrows is just, it blows my mind. So, Perceptual Image Analysis is the name of that plugin. We've got forensically, which you can go to just tineye.ch. That's pretty much all the tools you need. Throw in an image off your phone, upload one. It's not going to do any damage. Let's see. This doesn't have metadata. I wonder if I've got one of my... Let me just see if I've got a photo. I don't think I do on here. No. New systems, I don't have any images. Okay. Anyway, this is not as organised as would like to have been for a live stream, because between the audio issues, if you're still there, good on you. Good on you. Thank you for sticking with us. I'm Jay. I am full nerd. Full disclosure, I'm also autistic, ADHD. So that's kind of where I got riled up to contribute my experience in digital technologies over now, Christ almighty, 30 years, roughly. And I just wanted to really feel like we're doing something to help, because it's clear as day that Brian Kohberger has been framed for this multiple homicide, and all of the evidence is not evidence. Anyway, most of you that I see in the chat are already subscribed, so thank you for joining us. We will have more updates soon. Appreciate your time. Any questions, throw them into a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if anyone wants any of the images, let us know and we can send those through. But you've got those tools. So if you do want to go full nerd, you can go to GitHub. And I'm going to show the browser. Last thing. Show my browser. Except I'm in the wrong browser. Quickly switch over to this one. Share. Open source intelligence, OSINT. So GitHub is a code repository, and if we just go up here and search for awesome OSINT, there are collections of tools. So this has around similar sites, searching for code, social network tools to search through different forums, discussions, emails, phone number research, vehicle research. There's lots of different tools. But all we need now is some free time to actually go through them all. Some great resources there. GitHub, just search for awesome OSINT. And happy investigating. Let's see what the next doc drop is for the case of interest in